Cheltenham was good, his entry was fantastic, and then finished up on a good note. I think Sandown was probably his best performance, really. It's funny that although he and Mike Byte were great at Cheltenham, I think their best runs actually came after Cheltenham. And now Altior, again, he's done everything right. He has done for 3 years. It was bizarre because, it is this sort of prep work earlier on, there was nothing at all. And suddenly we changed gallops and all of a sudden he made a noise. And I'm glad to say that we've switched gallops already this year and he's not making a noise. So there's some good news for you. It was just the timing was unfortunate. And it meant that he couldn't run in the Tingle Creek, but that was only one race, and from there on he did everything he did, and he did very well to get back in time for the Game Spirit, to be fair, so we've got to run him before Cheltenham. All we're really saying is if the entries for the King George close tomorrow, we'd probably put him in it. But then, we've got to think what we're doing with Mike Byte as well. Well, if you run two against each other, you're going to have to, lots of times, I fear. Well, the only possible place he can go before the Tingle Creek is the Buveur at Cheltenham. And I would think about that, actually, if he was ready. He would have made a very good chaser, but he was going to, sooner or later that season, he was the same season as Altior as a novice, he was going to bump into him. And to be fair, the champion hurdle was very open. And one of them had to come back and have a crack at it, because I was fairly confident that either could have probably won that. And Altior was going well over fences. I'm not saying Buveur wasn't, but his technique was rather more hurdlish than chasing, if you know what I mean. And we all agreed that that's what we ought to do. And he hasn't looked back. He's won 2 Unibet champion hurdles, and we want a 3rd one. I've just always been a bit suspicious of him. He's always been a very stuffy horse, and he's taking a lot of work, and I just felt it would help him. And so in the interim between his summer holiday and coming in, he's just had it attended to, rather like Altior. And of course this time the timing was fine. We allowed ourselves the time, so he's perfectly on schedule for the fighting 5th, and it hasn't interrupted us at all. He's done great, and he looks very, very well. He's quite forward. He's about the same as Altior at the moment. We're doing as much as we can, but I'd like to get on the grass, but it's not vital. He's summered well. We're going to take a different route to last year. And I think last year was all about really just making sure that he was the finished article. And I was just very conscious of getting his mind absolutely right for the King George, rather than having a big dust-up with the big boys, at Haydock, which turned out to be very soft ground. It would have been a mistake. And luckily we had a nice easy race, and that took him nicely into the King George. To be fair, this year the intention is to be more ambitious and to go to Haydock to start with. Unless it was similar ground to last year, then that would make us think again. But then you've got to think where you can go. You can't run in the graduation this time. So he probably has got to go to Haydock, really, if we think about it. You just have to be a bit careful with him. And, we've minded him over a number of years now, and so he's ready to take his battles. And I think, for me, his best performance was at Aintree, where I thought he was absolutely superb. He was the one horse that really did have a hard race at Cheltenham. And yet out of our 3, Buveur and Altior and him, he was the horse that came out of Cheltenham the best. And in fact, he was the only one we took to Aintree. And to come out of that battle in the Gold Cup and do what he did at Aintree, I thought I really was proud of him that day. I thought he was brilliant.